What's happening, everybody? Well, it's been a hot minute since I've brought you guys any real content with Miss Thing over here, and look at what I have gone and done. Yes, that is a pretty significant scratch on the fender, and we're gonna go try to fix it today using a product you may have seen on TV. All right, guys, so we're gonna try to fix that with the old Dr. Colorchip. So I've seen this enough times, the commercial kept coming up, and I thought, you know what, does that stuff even work? I mean, you guys have seen me fix chips on this car before, but nothing quite as intense as this, and I thought, man, this might be an opportunity to put a little bit of a video together to bring to you guys the results of using one of these kits. Now, what comes in the kit, well, I'll tell you what, it comes with quite a bit of neat stuff. You've got something called Seal Act, which is some kind of a sealer, your touch-up paint, some brushes. There's a squeegee, like you see on the commercials. There's that squeegee. It's actually in this kit. Along with some other things, you get some pipettes, another little bitty squeegee, microfiber towel, some gloves. You get all, and another little wipe-up pad. This is presumably the one for this sealing product. It's kind of the thing that gets the excess paint off of your panel, whatever you're fixing. Anyway, it comes with quite a bit of stuff. Now, quick background on where this little incident took place. Actually, it's garage rash. I was changing brakes in Buffy, and I was playing with the caliper tool as I was walking back over to my toolbox. And because I was playing with it like a fidget spinner, the thing got out of control, and next thing you know, I bounced it off of my car. So because metal and paint usually, in the end results basically an L for the paint, now I'm looking at this. But again, maybe it helps you guys out. And if it's a satisfactory fix, it might be something you might want to look into. So you know how I do this. It's all in real time, and there is no editing. It's just pause editing. So kind of nervous. Let's get to it. All right, guys, here's another shot of that gouge. It's pretty much into the metal in that one spot. The rest of it's just paint. Okay, guys, I've been trying to figure out a way to mount this thing to where you could see what I'm up to. I'm going to give it a shot, but if I end up kind of botching that a little bit, I will show you results as I go along. Now, one of the things that is not mentioned was talking about in the instructions for this kit. One of the things that wasn't mentioned was taping anything off. So in the interest of following the directions and maybe the way that you guys would do it too, I am not going to tape this thing off. I'm not going to get it all fine and just perfect. I'm gonna do it kind of the way you guys would do it out there at home. So it might be better to tape it off. I don't know, but I'm not gonna tape it off. I'm just gonna knock it out the way that it is showing in the instructions, or maybe against my better judgment, I'm not gonna tape it. But anyway, let's keep going. All right, guys, so per the instructions, you gotta clean this stuff off. Instructions are asking for some kind of an alcohol. I keep this stuff around the shop, not because I do a lot of paint repairs, but because I injure myself a lot. So anyway, let me get this thing cleaned up. Using just a little bit of that alcohol, we're just gonna clean up the area, getting any kind of funk off of here. I apologize. Typically, this car is spotless, but I have neglected in my duties as the steward of this vehicle. Looks pretty clean. All right, on to the next step. All right, guys, so as per the instructions, time to get to it with the painting. Now, you hear that, it's got a little rattler in here. I always recommend, if you're gonna be using anything that's got to be shaken or rattled and shaken like this, shake it pretty vigorously for about 30 seconds. One more thing, guys. This is color code PRY. PRY is red line red metallic. And in my experience, this has been kind of a tough color to match up. So I'm not trying to build in any excuses. I'm just telling you, if it can match up or at least make this kind of go away and at least make it look decent or presentable, it'll be a win, because this has been tough so far with other little rock chips for me to clean up. So anyway, one other thing, I'm going to be applying this with one of the little brushes. I'm not exactly on board. Is that the right way to put it? I'm not exactly comfortable yet just dumping it on there and squeegeeing it. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to be dabbing this just a little bit, and then using the squeegee to kind of get the paint into that particular scratch that I'm working on right now. So I know you guys may have seen the TV commercials and all that, where the guys just kind of glooping it on there and smearing it. That might work for rash, like a large area, but I think for a smaller area like this, on a bit more of a conspicuous area, the way that I'm working on this fender, the way that this is, I think this might be a little bit better way to go. So anyway, here we go. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply a little bit of the paint to the brush, like so, if you can see that. I'm just going to come in and start to fill this scratch just a little bit. And in the instructions, it's pretty specific about how it wants you to build this up. Good grief, it's practically gone away. That it wants you to build it up and kind of squeegee it out a little bit. So leveling everything out. So this is going to take a couple of shots. Go ahead and close that up. Get the squeegee. We're going to use the little squeegee. They include a lot of different, I don't know, accessories or other things to make this work. This is that smaller squeegee that came with the little pipette. So let's see. Get this smeared in there a little bit. Okay, back to it. And this is not going to be a one and done process, guys. This is going to be a several step process, I feel like. But I have to admit, it's blending in rather well. You guys can see that. It looks like a smudge on screen, but believe me when I tell you, up close, it's actually not bad. I gotta tell you, not only is it not bad up close, but it's, at least so far, it's kind of better. I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn just yet, but it's better than, in terms of matching up anyway, than the that expensive kit that you get from the dealership. It's actually matching up better than that. Didn't think I'd be saying that. Now again, this is a deep cut. I would not, and I mean cut too, guys. This isn't just a oopsie. This is a pretty legit paint problem to have. But that being said, anyway, sorry, getting to the point. This is not going to be one of those, it's blended in, you'll never be able to tell something's happened. I wouldn't think, not with something like this. But I will say that it is absolutely looking much, much better. Much better than I thought that it would. At least so far, that is. All right. On to the next step. All right, guys, so to spare you literally watching paint dry, we're going to let this dry for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to move on to the next step. But I got to say, it's blending in pretty well. I know you can, it just kind of looks like a fingerprint there, but you know what? At first glance, as I'm looking at it, it's blending in far better than I thought. So anyway, I'm going to let it dry, and then we'll move on to the next step, which will be that blending solution. Oh. Okay, guys, so this is the next step. This is that blending solution, that seal act. Basically, the idea with this is that we're going to use this product to remove any of the excess paint on the panel. And you know what? Per the instructions that are on the box, it basically does read, repeat application as needed. This is a pretty significant, I mean, this is a gouge, guys. This isn't just a rock chip or a scratch or a little whoopsie. This is a legit gouge. So, I mean, if the results on something like this, you know, a condition that is worse than, you know, just a typical small little dab type of a thing that you might have on your car, if you've got something more significant and this works, I'll be pretty happy to do it a couple of times just to get it perfect. But so far, guys, I gotta say it isn't that bad. So anyway, I'm gonna let it finish drying, but I just wanted to bring you guys kind of into this real quickly. This is that blending or blending solution. They call it a seal act. Okay, guys, it's been about 3 or 4 minutes. It should, per the instructions, be ready to have that seal act used to get rid of some of that excess paint. So we're going to put, per the instructions, about a quarter-sized little dollop of this stuff on here and start to work it in. It says to slowly do this in circular or vertical motions. So we're just going to sit here and let this stuff work its magic. Guess we're just trying to get all of that excess off of there. See, it's kind of turning colors right there. I'm assuming that's the Dr. Colorchip. And this may take just a little bit, so. Trying not to be too aggressive with it. And it said in the instructions this was going to be kind of a slow process, or at least it alluded to that. So, tell you what, guys, I will save you. let me save you the torture of this, and I'll come back to you once it's got all this excess off of here. All right, now's about where you would have one of those 5 minutes later things. Anyway, I've got the excess off of here, and I gotta tell you, it's actually masked it pretty well. Hang on a second, let me try to do this for you guys. Now, you saw what it looked like before, and this is just the first pass through. I hope that this shows. I mean, you can still see it. It's really coming up on camera, but just to the eye, you don't see it as much. So anyway, we knew that this was going to be kind of a multi-step process anyway. This is just the first of those steps. But one thing I've learned so far about this system is it's better to take this in really, really small bites. I know on TV, they show the guy just, drenching the whole front of the car. That might work with some colors or in some scenarios, but with Redline Red, which is kind of a pearly looking metallic red, I know it kind of looks orange on camera for whatever reason. Anyway, getting to it, I'm going to have to take this in small little bites, but I got to tell you, so far, I'm actually kind of impressed with it. I'm going to hit it again, though, and I'm going to take a little bit of a smaller stab at it. That way I'm not having to do as much of this emulsifying as I was here. All right, guys, just letting you know, this is round 2, and I'm just giving the paint another quick shake. Quite a bit of this stuff, too, by the way. I have a feeling you can do quite a bit of repairs with the amount of product that they give you. All right, guys, so as I'm going along, and again, this is kind of round 2 here. One of the tricks that I found with these little squeegees, if this thing will focus, anyway, the idea, when you press down on the panel, the idea is you almost want to see the paint kind of bleed and spread through the back or on the back of the squeegee the way that it has here. And then you just want to apply a slight amount of pressure and slowly drag down. And that seems to be the best way I can apply this product in this particular really deep gouge. Again, I don't know that this product is designed for what I'm using it for, but it seems to be working relatively well. So again, this is round 2. And I've got a couple of other little marks you can see right here that I've actually gone in and just kind of wiped in a little bit of this where I had, again, it's just more of the scratch, but not this main part. And I can tell you that just to my eye right here, it really is starting to fill in and take shape. So this is, again, not going to be a one-step thing just because it's such a deep gouge, but you know, again, we're not looking for perfection. We're just looking to kind of mask it and blend it. But I got to tell you, it's not looking bad. I'm actually kind of surprised. So anyway, we're going to let this do its drying thing, and then we'll hit it again with that Seal Act blending solution. So time to watch paint dry. By the way, one other thing, guys, I am cleaning my squeegee in between these steps. So kind of a top tip, just get the old paint. Once it dries on here, it just kind of comes right off. But just keep your squeegees clean as you're working through this. I'm assuming, at least so far, it's made working with the product a lot easier and more consistent too. Okay, guys, going in for round 2 of that blending solution. This time I made sure not to get too aggressive with it. You might see my head pop in here every once in a while, so I'm just trying to get a better look at it. Because what's weird is from this angle that I'm looking at it, I know what you guys are seeing is pretty static, but from this angle, it's actually hard to see the repair, as weird as that may sound. Anyway, once again, this is going to be a few minutes at least, so I'll spare you that. All right, guys, so round 2 is complete, and I know that the camera just seems to be really honing in on it, but to my eye, I mean, I know it's still kind of jumping right off of the car on this video, but the reality is that it is starting to blend in really well. So yeah, on to round 3. All right, guys, so now I'm just going to use the little squeegee and make sure that we flatten this out nice and slowly. All right. Time to watch paint dry again. It's actually coming together fairly well. So anyway, I let you know when I'm done with the next step, or this latest step. So while I'm waiting on the paint to dry, I figured I'd let you know what the conditions are. So it's about 85 degrees-ish, so nice and warm. I would say that the paint is taking, to the touch anyway, to dry, is taking anywhere between 2 and 3 minutes. If you're doing this in temperatures that are less than maybe 65 or 70 degrees, I'd probably wait a full 4 or 5 minutes in between coats. Just check and make sure that that paint is dry before you start to use that blending solution. But right now, I'm able to kind of move along fairly quickly, but I will say that I'm making sure that I'm not being too aggressive with that blending solution where I've made the repairs, so that I don't pull any of the paint out of the scratch that I'm working on. So just figured while I was sitting here hanging out, I'd at least give you that info as well. Here we go, round 3 for the Seal Act. And I think really, guys, with stuff like this, as long as you're taking your time and you're not being overly aggressive, you know, you're not trying to rush the process, I think you're going to have pretty decent results. So far, I've got to say that I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing, all things considered. I mean, again, this is not just a little chip. This is a real life gouge. I mean, you guys saw at the very beginning of the video, it's all the way down to the bare metal. So, and what I'm doing is I'm kind of going back and forth around a little bit. You can see that I'm not just, you know, getting in there and, you know, grinding on it. I'm not doing that at all. Kind of you can't really see what I'm doing here. I've got my head kind of tilted a little bit to where I can see really the scratch and the just the residue, the excess that's on there, and I'm focusing mainly on that and not on the scratch itself. Even though I might be going over the scratch with that solution, I'm primarily putting pressure with my fingers outside of that. So I'm just kind of focusing on that, trying to focus the pressure to where I'm not really driving it into that scratch. And I mean, I should say gouge, it's not even a scratch. So anyway, I'm gonna keep knocking this out, let you know what it looks like afterwards. All right, guys, it's actually getting better with each subsequent pass. I know it's, again, kind of hard to see, and even one to the next in the pictures, it doesn't really show just how much it has begun to mask that scratch. So anyway, on to the next round. All right, guys, so I've switched from using that brush to it. I don't even know what you'd call this thing. It's almost like a little bitty, like a mini Q-tip. Anyway, I was using that to kind of fill in some of that gouge, and it seems to be working really well. I kind of wish I would have started off using this rather than the brush, and I apologize, this thing is just not going to focus on this thing. But anyway, it's the one with the yellow stick that kind of looks like a Q-tip. All right, I guess that's what, round 4, I think is what we're up to. God, this camera just seems to pick up on all the... Anyway, it's actually a lot better looking than what it shows up. Man, it does blend in from an angle. It's just, you are catching this from with a fluorescent light right above us, so it's going to be real easy to pick it out. But it's nowhere near as bad as what it was. I think I'm going to give it one final round. All right, guys, kind of an update. So, yeah, we're probably into like the 5th or 6th pass. And what I'm doing is I'm using progressively smaller brushes to just barely dab paint into this gouge to try to fill it up. So this is kind of the painstaking part of something like this. Again, it's never quite as easy as it's led on to be, and well, with anything, right? But in this case, because the gouge is so deep, I am having to go in there and really kind of build it up. Now, along the way, though, I have found other little miniature rock chips, little scratches, divots, whatever, that I hadn't noticed before. And I'm just going in and just touching it with this, the paint that comes with this kit. It's actually filling it in pretty nicely. So just going to have to keep working on it. All right, guys, tail of the tape. How did we do? Well, if it weren't for the fact that there was a dent diming out the fact that something had landed on that fender, you might not even notice. And yeah, if you get right up on it, especially with this light being as it is, you can definitely make it out, but it's a far cry from what it was before. I mean, just walking up from an angle, you can't really see it. So would I say that it worked? Yeah, I'd say it would. And as a reference, guys, let me show you this little repair here, if you want to call it that. That's actually the manufacturer supplied paint repair kit. So about as bad in terms of depth as the repair we just got through going through together. And I gotta say that this doesn't look as good as, where is it? Oh, there it is. I was sitting right on top of it. Doesn't look nearly as good as that. So, yeah, I would say it does really well, considering it blends right in until you go really hunting for it. All right, yeah, I would recommend this kit. Again, Dr. Colorchip is the system that we used. You know, I gotta tell you something. Considering as bad as of a gouge as we were working with, I would say that any system that doesn't involve wet sanding in a paint booth is not going to give you a perfect result. The best you can hope for is for something to at least blend in and not catch the eye. And in that mission, Dr. Colorchip does just fine. Now, I am going to probably have to go over this car maybe one more time with this kit, just finding other little rock chips and things like that to fill in. None of those repairs are going to be anywhere near as involved as what I was just working with. So in terms of ease of use, I can't imagine a system being easier than this Dr. Colorchip system. Now, you know, as far as would I recommend this product, I would absolutely recommend it. If you've got some track rash on your car that you need to clean up, which is what is primarily the situation with this Hellcat. But if you've got some track rash or some just rash on the front of the car from rock chips or dust, things like that, this system will actually do a pretty good job for you. So in terms of price, it's about $70-ish landed. A far cry from taking the car to a professional and have them actually go through and put paint into paint gun and start spraying your car. So yeah, I would say absolutely worth it. And post up your comments, let me know what you think. I will post up some after shots of the car in a later video. The car needs a bath really badly. I'm also going to hit the car again. As I was saying, I'm going to go over the car again with this, not just in that spot. It doesn't really need it there anymore, but in other little rock chip areas. I am going to hit it with the machine polisher, get it all cleaned up, and I will give you a part 2 of the video. So with that though, hopefully that helps you out. Again, I'd love to hear your experience with products like this, and that's a wrap.